Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering the Gospel of Truth, chapters 16 through 24. Yeah, so we're starting the Gospel of Truth today. Now, while Chris is dying over there, there is a reason that we're starting at chapter 16. It is because the first 15 chapters simply do not exist. The issue is these were found. Now, the thing is, it would be improper to call them chapters right now. So these were found at Nag Hammadi.
It's not broken down into chapters in here.
Yeah, so in that one, it's not broken down to chapters. In this one, it's also not exactly broken down into chapters, but what they break it down into is tractates and lines, right?
And so by the way, what I'm speaking about is Lost Scriptures, books that did not make it into the New Testament by Bart D. Ehrman.
I have the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, the revised and updated translation of sacred Gnostic texts, edited by Marvin Mayer. So the reason that I already noted is because these were found. So these are found in Nag Hammadi. They were found on a few tractates, but the first 15 don't exist. So the first time we actually hear of this is actually in Against Heresies. I think it's from Irenaeus. So in Against Heresies, Irenaeus mentions that the Valentinians possess a work called the Gospel of Truth. The third tractate of Codex I happens to begin with precisely those words, and most scholars are therefore inclined to identify the tractate with the work mentioned by Irenaeus. Now, of course, the issue is, I was reading one paper that was like, what are the chances that it could be found, that a text like this could be found, and it just happens to say the Gospel of Truth, and I'm like, it's starting in the middle. Like, is this the beginning of it? It might be, because it's a tractate and not, but either way. So it may or may not be the beginning of it because of how it was found. But either way, the tractate is not furnished with the title in the manuscript, but, and this is where it says it, but it can hardly be a coincidence that its opening words are identical with the title mentioned by Irenaeus. The Gospel of Truth is not itself a gospel in the sense of other works that bear its name, nor is it intended to be. Instead, it is a discourse on the gospel, understood as the good news about the appearance of the Savior on earth and the message he brought to the community. The Gospel of Truth gives an interpretation of that event and explains how everything has been changed as a consequence of it. So probably a different interpretation, right? Because Irenaeus wrote a whole thing against it specifically. So the story tells how the world came into existence as the result of ignorance. Initially, the eternity of aeons, or eternal realms, existed inside the Father, who was so vast and unfathomable that they were unable to perceive him. Because of this, ignorance, anguish, and terror took hold of the aeons. Error was produced instead of truth, and on this elusive basis, the world was created as a solidification of ignorance and fear, a fog. And then we're gonna, of course, get into the full story there.
All right.
Yeah, I think you also have an introductory thing on it.
Yes, it's not too much, but here we go. A moving expression of Gnostic joy in experiencing enlightenment. The Gospel of Truth is one of the real treasures of the Nag Hammadi library. The book is not a gospel in the traditional sense. There is no account of the life or teachings of Jesus here. It is called a gospel because it presents the good news of God's gracious revelation of saving knowledge, gnosis, which comes through Jesus Christ. Some scholars believe that it was originally a sermon preached to a Gnostic or possibly a more broadly Christian congregation. Many are convinced that it was authored by the most famous Gnostic Christian of the 2nd century, Valentinius himself. The Gospel of Truth presupposes important aspects of Gnostic myth, but it does not explicate them. There are only scattered hints about how the divine realm, the material world, and human beings came into existence. Instead, the book focuses on the truth that brings redemption to an anguished humanity, languishing in darkness and ignorance, and especially on the one who brought this revealed truth, Jesus Christ, the Word who comes forth from the Father as his Son.
Yeah, well,
Through Christ's revelation, the fog of error has been dissipated and the illusions of falsehood have been exposed, opening those who receive the truth to understand who they are, allowing them to be reunited with the incomprehensible and inconceivable Father of all.
yeah. So once again, very clearly a Gnostic work.
Mm-hmm.
And
Whether or not the work actually came from Valentinius, it was known to the church father and heresy hunter Irenaeus.
yes.
And so it must have been written before 180 CE.
Yeah, so this, so what we do know is that the Gospel of Truth, known to Irenaeus, was used by the Valentinians. The Gospel of Truth that we have was used by the tripartite tractate, in indubitably Valentinian text. The general vocabulary and the creative use of images are suggestive of Valentinianism. The Gospel of Truth, the treatise on resurrection, and the interpretation of knowledge have many similarities, and the latter two texts are considered by most to be Valentinian. Moreover, these three tractates belong to the genres of homilies and letters, genres known to have been used in particular by the Valentinians. On the other hand, the Gospel of Truth lacks any clear reference to the distinctive mythology of Valentinianism, such as the myth of the fall of Sophia or the cosmogony and the anthropogeny found in many of the systematic treatises. Instead of the story of Sophia's passion, which gave rise to matter, her subsequent repentance and joy at the vision of the Savior, from which soul and spirit originated, and the shaping of the cosmos from these three substances, the Gospel of Truth tells the allegorical tale of error, from which the material cosmos came into being. So the cosmogony is not only different from the standard Valentinian myth, it also implies a distinctly more negative view of the cosmos and a more dualistic ontology than is the case with with Valentinian cosmology in general. So, might be some differences, might not be, from a Valentinian sect.
All right. And this translation is by Harold W. Attridge and George W. McRae. I wonder if Steve...
It's not no relation. I already asked.
I bet you did.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be funny if he was like, "Oh yeah, that's my Uncle George."
Yeah, good old George, the translator of biblical works, and I'm like, wow.
He could like tell us about his crazy like Thanksgiving antics and stuff.
Yeah, right.
That'd be fun. But no, we couldn't have that. It couldn't be because it's not the case.
Yeah. So remember, while we go through this, these are not chapters proper. These are tractates and lines that we'll be going over.
Well, because mine isn't broken up in any way.
I did you a favor.
You did me a favor?
Yes, I wrote down, it is the tractate at the beginning of those paragraphs. That is the tractate number followed by the line number. Okay. And so we can use those as the chapters. We're just going to call them chapters because it's easier.
I'm going to have you tell me when to do things because I'm just going to read it.
Okay, because this one is portioned off into sections.
You wrote down stuff in the book.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, they're very sparse.
They are, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, his stuff's written, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well then, why don't I hop into it?
Okay. So you can put down 16, I guess, for now.
Okay. And do ours start the same way?
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. The gospel of truth is joy for those who have received from the Father of truth the grace of knowing him, through the power of the word that came forth from the pleroma, the one who is in the thought and in the mind of the Father, that is, the one who is addressed as the Savior, that being the name of the work he is to perform for the redemption of those who were ignorant of the Father, while in the name of the gospel is the proclamation of hope, being discovery for those who search for him.
So, by the way, we are now on chapter 17. Or I should say on tractate 17. Because since it's a tractate, right, it's in the middle of the line. So those who had not known tractate 17, the Father. So yeah, so now we are on Tractate 17, and
so let's talk about Tractate 16 because that's interesting. That's like a very particular interpretation of scripture.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The word has come from the pleroma, or
right.
also translated
so
as fullness.
It defines it as the one who is in the thought and the mind of the Father.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the one who is addressed as the Savior. Right. So they're making a distinction here between.
So he's a thought form of the Father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically. He
it's
exists,
a concept that exists.
Yeah, he exists by virtue of being like
in the
this
Father's
particular
mind.
thought form of the Father. So he's like a projection of the pleroma.
Whoa, man!
And he represents this like this higher ideal that the Gospels serve as the means for other people to aspire to be like that ideal,
or to be saved,
be saved. Okay. When the totality went about searching for the one from whom they had come forth, and the totality was inside of him, the incomprehensible, inconceivable one who is superior to every thought, ignorance of the Father brought about anguish and terror. And the anguish grew solid like a fog, so that no one was able to see. For this reason, error became powerful. It worked on its own matter foolishly, not having known the truth. It set about with a creation, preparing with power and beauty the substitute for the truth.
So apparently, the translation here uses feminine pronouns. So it says, thus error grew powerful. She worked on her material substance in vain. Since she did not know the truth, she assumed a fashioned figure and prepared with power and beauty a substitute for truth. So it says here that it's personified and feminine in gender. So I'm guessing the actual text is feminine. Cross-reference her role with that of wisdom and the demiurge elsewhere in the Gnostic texts, which we have done on this show.
Where is the demiurge here?
No. Not in here.
Well, so they talk about the totality here.
No, it's a cross-reference Sophia and the demiurge relationship.
But unrelated to that. They talk about the totality earlier on.
The pleroma. Right?
So yours has pleroma.
No, this one has fullness in it.
Okay.
But it also notes that the word is pleroma.
Okay, so when the pleroma went about searching for the one from whom they had come forth, and the pleroma was inside of him, the incomprehensible, inconceivable one who's superior to every thought, right? So typically we think of the pleroma as like this overbearing thing that contains all things, like, which is why it's presented as totality here.
Oh,
right?
Sure, yeah.
But then they're also saying that there's some greater uber pleroma, right?
Well, here's the thing. So in the first part where it said from the fullness, that's from the pleroma in the Father's thought and mind. But then when this section begins, this translation says all have sought for the one whom they have come forth. All have been within him. That one is not pleroma.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes back to pleroma. I have to see where, but it does go back to pleroma at some point.
Because this isn't quite what we got in some other Gnostic texts.
Right, yeah.
It's like a different metaphysic altogether.
Absolutely.
Right. So now we have the uber pleroma. And when mine says the totality was inside of him, the incomprehensible, inconceivable one who was superior to every thought. Does yours have pretty much the same thing? Or?
The illimitable, the inconceivable, who is beyond all thought.
Okay. And we don't get a name for that.
Well, I mean, this would probably be the Father, right? Or maybe not. I guess we'll find out.
Is it the Father? Is this how they're presenting the Father? Is
Maybe.
the Uber Pleroma? Or
Perhaps his thought in mind.
okay. And error here is like creating a substitute for the truth. This was not then a humiliation for him, the incomprehensible, inconceivable one, for they were nothing. The anguish and the oblivion and the creature of deceit, while the established truth is immutable, imperturbable, perfect in beauty. For this reason, despise error. Thus it had no root. It fell into fog regarding the Father, while it was involved in preparing works and oblivions and terror, in order that by means of these it might entice those of the middle and capture them.
So, yeah, those of the middle. The middle is the region between the fullness of the divine above and this world below.
The oblivion of error was not revealed. It is not a textual break.
Yep. It is. And by the way, this textual break is actually also the next tractate. So now we are at
18.
tractate 18. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we don't have the rest of that. But
Nope.
from the Father, oblivion did not come into existence from the Father, although it did indeed come into existence because of him.
Here, Bentley Leighton translates this clause, and surely then not because of him, continuing the negative from the previous clause.
That is the complete opposite.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Well, this one is contradictory.
Oh, but he sorry. So this is how the translation is noted from Bentley about Bentley Leighton's translation, but the translation itself says forgetfulness did not come into being from the Father, but if it did come into being, it is because of him.
Okay.
So, all quite different translations. I'd love to see the original text at this point.
Yeah.
This is written in Coptic, so I wouldn't understand it.
No,
but,
you wouldn't.
But
also, I prefer Oblivion.
Yeah, Oblivion is much
over
better.
Forgetfulness.
Yeah.
That's boring.
It is.
Let's get some Oblivion. Woo. But what comes into existence in him is knowledge, which appeared in order that oblivion might vanish, and the Father might be known. Since oblivion came into existence because the Father was not known, then if the Father comes to be known, oblivion will not exist from that moment on.
Okay. So, essentially, the only reason oblivion is there is because of this fog, right? Because of error.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's because they don't
know
the Father,
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just as soon as the Father gets through that fog, they'll know.
You know, Lawrence, if you believed in God and you knew God, then you would have perfect memory.
Would I?
That's what it's saying, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, I'm not sure if this is the same kind of, because remember how they used
it's probably not the same kind of forgetfulness.
Right, yeah.
They're referring to forgetfulness of this particular incomprehensible, inconceivable uber.
Right, this inconceivable thing.
Yeah.
And incomprehensible.
Mm-hmm.
How are you supposed to...
How are you supposed to argue
that you know
for
it?
or against or like anything related to that?
Right, yeah.
Right? Okay. Lawrence, hear
can't
me
understand
out.
it and can't...
Hear me out. God exists. Incomprehensible.
Beyond all thought, yeah.
Yeah, beyond all thought. Inconceivable. Like...
Except somehow...
You can't even
I never thought of it
begin
that way.
to like
I never thought of
try
it.
You're so limited in your puny human squish brain.
True. Yep.
That-
I have a stupid lizard brain. Yes.
Yeah. In fact, no biological organism ever really could figure it out because they're too dumb.
Yep.
And
Just too dumb.
they can't comprehend it.
Nope.
They can't conceive it, right? So how are you going to argue against
how is a
that?
3D image
I don't know.
going to understand a higher dimensional construct? You're just not.
Oh, well, that one's easy. I'm not going to tell you, but it's easy.
Great. Well, let me continue on then. Through this, the gospel of the one who is searched for, which was revealed to those who are perfect through the... Okay. Great. Listen to this author. He's saying that he's perfect. Right? To reveal to those who are perfect through the mercies of the Father. Oh, so it's humble.
Right. It's humble, of course.
The hidden mystery, Jesus, the Christ, enlightened those who were in darkness through oblivion. He enlightened them. He showed them a way, and the way is the truth which he taught them.
Hey, Reuben.
Mm-hmm. Do you know the way?
Dude, you know the way.
You do not know
That's
the
a
way.
stupid meme, man.
It's great. It's got knuckles and everything.
It's so dumb.
And knuckles.
Yeah, I think that's actually a dead meme.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Like it's so
died.
dead. I hadn't thought of it at all until you mentioned it just now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And nothing can revive it.
Nope.
It's dead forever.
It is.
It's never coming back.
It's dead and buried.
As a flash in the pan.
Yep.
I don't know. The missile meme came back.
Sure.
That is true. It did. It did kind of come back.
Things come and go, guys.
Yeah.
Do you think Rage comics are ever going to come back?
I don't even remember
What the hell
what that is.
Yeah, I remember back in like 2007, 2008.
A lot of stuff happened in 2007 and 2008.
Well, it's a whole year.
I'm going to look these up, though. Okay.
Yeah, the Rage comics where it's like some setup and then things like...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That will make a comeback.
Yeah, that'll
I'm
make
pretty sure it'll make a comeback.
someday.
Yeah.
Someday. And demotivational posters.
Those are, no.
No, those are
Those aren't
gone.
going anywhere.
Those are those
No.
aren't.
Let's please keep those in the late 2000s.
Okay. For this reason, error grew angry at him, persecuted him, was distressed at him, and was brought to naught.
I mean, you'd think error is doing this out of sheer ignorance, right?
What?
So why would error be so mad about
something wrong?
this?
Because
What?
error is trying to obfuscate,
Yeah, I guess.
and
But
he's like showing people the way.
I was being error. I was doing a good job.
And error's like pissed off because like that's really making obfuscating hard.
Yeah, I like obfuscating. Come on.
It's like imagine
Okay, so she does it on purpose. Okay, I
Yeah.
had to go back and read that. Okay.
imagine it's your job to like
Get in the way.
booby trap a dungeon. Right? You're like an evil.
Right, I'd be pretty mad if someone comes in and starts unbooby trapping everything. I'd be like, hey, I worked really hard on booby
Not
trapping.
only do they unbooby trap everything, they
They make
easily
the
spot
walls.
all of your traps.
Mhm.
They know how to deal with everything that you do.
Yeah.
And they turn a profit on it.
Ah,
They
damn.
like sell your traps for parts.
Wow, rude.
Yeah, you might be a little peeved.
Yeah.
You know,
They
like,
come
true.
back and
hey
it's clean
guys,
and easy
I
to
don't
walk
really
through.
appreciate that.
And empty. Also, he took everything.
Mhm. He was nailed to a tree, and he became a fruit of the knowledge of the Father.
That wording is great. So, yeah, he was nailed to a tree and he became fruit of the knowledge of the Father. But, of course, it's supposed to be the cross and the fruit of knowledge.
Yes, it did not, however, cause destruction because it was eaten, but to those who ate it, it gave cause to become glad in the discovery, and he discovered them in himself, and they discovered him in themselves.
Wow. So they have quite the interpretation of Adam and Eve.
Well, this is a different fruit.
No, it was the tree of knowledge. It was the fruit of the tree of knowledge. It was literally Jesus and his revelation.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
They were joyful in this discovery, and he found them within himself, and they found him within themselves. I think that's exactly what this is saying.
I don't think so. I think that it's a purely figurative sequence. I think that what they're saying is that Jesus
This reference to the tree recalls both the tree on which Jesus was crucified, that I pointed out, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden.
But it's not that tree. It's a different tree. And it has a different fruit, which causes a different outcome.
No.
They
Remember,
specify that eating it does not cause destruction like the other fruit from the other tree.
that eating it doesn't cause destruction? I thought that it was...
It did not, however, cause destruction because it was eaten. But to those who ate it, it gave cause to become glad in the discovery.
Okay, so perhaps. But if you remember, you remember how when we were reading on the origins of the world or the Gospel of Peter or something, right? They had an entirely different theological outlook where there was this hidden truth, right? And then they were the ones with the knowledge, right? They were the Gnostics. They were in the know. I think the issue here is that they are taking the story of Genesis quite literally, but they are saying that, no, what the Bible is telling you, this is what error is telling you. Or sorry, what the Hebrew Bible is telling you. This would have been what error is telling you because it's obfuscating the truth. They weren't, that is not what happened. In fact, they were joyful because of this tree of knowledge, because the tree of knowledge was it was the Savior. They received that revelation.
I don't think so. I think that the
Okay.
correct way to appreciate this is that he's not talking about Genesis, but he's making an allusion to Genesis while talking about the New Testament. And he's talking about the crucifixion here
Right.
being the means by which the masses come to knowledge of Christ, right? Like he's using the fruit and eating the fruit as like this figurative language where after the death and resurrection of Christ, people who come to knowledge of Christ, who go into gnosis through this Christian methodology, they're like overjoyed, right? I think that the
Okay, so you're thinking that this is while using the allegory of the tree.
yeah.
Okay, I see where you're going for. Okay.
I think that it would fit something like the fig tree as well.
Well, in that case, then wouldn't it be? Then why would you use the fruit of knowledge thing if that was a bad thing in their worldview, right? Like if they still considered that a bad thing that
but
brought death into the world.
Temporally, within the temporal logic of like the Bible, right? He's talking about Jesus being nailed to the cross.
Right, yeah.
This is an event that takes place far after Genesis.
Right, yeah. But remember a few things here. So, number one is that we've come across this before, as it is in heaven, so it shall be on earth. That's one idea.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is, man, I forgot the other one. I had it and then I lost it. Just blanked completely.
I mean, there's like the preeminent Christ.
Yeah,
right?
the pre-existent word. Right. That was the other one.
But I can't imagine that they would posit that the preeminent Christ would be crucified prior to Genesis. It just seems easier to see people actually.
Well, it already does outline this as being a secret, right? So through the hidden mystery, Jesus Christ enlightened those who were in darkness because of forget.
Yeah, because they're talking about the life and death and
right. So it would be
Christ.
afterwards, yeah. So it is interesting that they're using that parallel though, because if they had a
Right.
positive, if they had the outlook that modern Christians do on Adam and Eve and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, then you would think, why would you use it? Because that brought death into the world. So they obviously had a different interpretation of that, did they not?
It seems, I think that they're drawing on the fruit as like it's a very powerful thing. It's like a very influential thing that completely changes the course of history for those who interact with it.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And so I think that they're using that for that purpose. Without further information, because we've read Gnostic literature about Adam and Eve, and it is not portrayed as good.
True. That is true.
Although there are points where Sophia is in the tree.
Was she in the tree, or did she set up her own tree?
No, Sophia was in the tree as the divine Eve.
Oh, that's right. That's right. She was nearby.
Yeah. So, and then the earthly Eve
right
came by.
And then I don't want to talk about the rest of that.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Yeah, and that last book we read, the end of that.
Yeah, the end of that.
Also ridiculous. Why?
Okay, but this is okay, so we'll keep a tab in this because this is interesting.
Yes, it is interesting. As for the incomprehensible, inconceivable one, the Father, the perfect one. Okay, that one is the Father. They confirmed. The one who made the totality. Within him is the totality, and of him the totality has need. Although he retained their perfection within himself, which he did not give to the totality, the Father was not jealous. What jealousy, indeed, could there be between himself and his members? For if this aeon had thus received their imperfection, he could not have come textual break.
Oh, this is, oh boy. So this is quite different. For even if, by the way, we are now on to 19. Tractate 19.
Oh.
Yeah, for even if the members of the eternal realm, that would be Aeon there, had received their perfection instead of imperfection there, they could not have approached. And then there's a textual break, and then it says...
mine says received their perfection.
Oh, I thought you said imperfection.
It was in brackets, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so their perfection, they could not have approached the Father after a textual break. But go on.
He retains within himself their perfection, granting it to them as a return to him and a perfectly unitary knowledge. It is he who fashioned the totality, and within him is the totality, and the totality was in need of him. Okay, but what about what contains him?
That's a good question, and we don't have any information about that.
Yeah, where is he?
I don't know.
If he's in a place, then wouldn't there be another totality?
Yeah, an even greater totality? A totality of totalities?
Yes. That's the totality of totalities.
I mean, they do have, an infinity of infinities. And then they have like sets of those, right? So you have Aleph, you have you have Aleph Null, and then you have Aleph 1 and Aleph 2, and you just do sets and sets and sets of infinities, and then there are even more, which is fucking crazy. Like, just call it infinity, my guys. Like, I know that they want to have different values for these sets, right? And you could subtract one infinity from another. And
speaking of which, you never did that video on the different worlds that God tried to create.
That's right. That's because, okay, hold on.
That's insane.
That one reference about those different worlds, I remember what you're talking about. Was it the 18,000 worlds? Was that it?
I think so.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and look through some of these notes because I do remember writing that one down. Yes, the many worlds, 3rd Enoch 24:17.
3rd Enoch 24:17.
Yeah, and I think it also mentions the midrash here, or maybe third Enoch was just my note as to where it can be found. All right.
Yeah.
Was it in
yeah,
there?
Yeah, he looks through 18,010 worlds at one glance, and he discerns and sees into them and knows what is in all of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, many worlds. We need to get back into that.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting.
Where was I? And it was in need of him. As in the case of a person of whom some are ignorant, he wishes to have them know him and love him. So, for what did the totality have need of if not knowledge regarding the Father? And then there's one of your markings. Says,
Yeah, that's where the next section is in this one. I was just trying to align it here. So we notice how I can probably continue on from here.
Yeah, you should take over from here.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're enjoying the stream so far, guys, you gotta give us a like and share it around and subscribe and give us all your money and
Straight up.
give us all your jewels. If you have rubies and diamonds, sapphires and emeralds, topaz.
Really? Topaz is pretty cheap.
I don't know.
It's like amethyst level, man.
Really, any interesting rocks that you
Wow,
found?
yeah, just interesting rocks.
Yeah, if you see like a rock on the beach and you're like, oh, Lawrence will appreciate
Yeah,
this.
I will definitely like those, except no, I really probably won't.
Yeah,
I won't.
not a lot of currency either. We don't need huge like a few pennies. What's the minimum that YouTube allows?
It's $1.
I
I don't think it's
Is
a
it
dollar.
$1?
I
It might
think
be
you can
$2.
give less than $1.
no, sorry, I've seen $1.99. I've seen that.
Let's see.
I don't know if I've
$1
$1.
is the automatic one, but can you manually type it in?
into where it says $1 there.
$1.
Yeah. Can you manually type in less, or does it have to be $1? No, it has to be $1.
Nope,
At
you
least $1.
cannot send a penny. Wow. We need to,
Yeah.
maybe
Gotta be at least
it
$1.
has to be 0.99. Maybe.
I do one.
I-
Okay.
Well, 1, right, but
Okay, yeah, you're right. What if I do 0?
right, which is the thing that the thing that Ruben was asking about.
No.
No, that
Yeah.
doesn't work.
So it has to be
either.
at least $1.
It has to be at least $1. Wow.
Oh dear
Wow.
God, do not even.
It goes up to
I just like
500.
moving a slider.
Can you
I
make
don't
it
even
go
have my
over
credit card on here.
500 though?
Probably. Why are we talking about this?
Set it
run
to
another-
like 5,000.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Please don't click.
Someone do that.
Don't click buy and send.
9,000.
Don't do that.
To yourself, Lawrence.
All right.
Is that money laundering?
No, that's
that's-
paying
that's
YouTube.
not-
Actually, yeah.
That's just giving money to
losing
YouTube.
Money.
It's paying YouTube.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to continue on here.
Do your thing.
So this is continuing on with Tractate 19. He became a guide, a person of rest who was busy in places of instruction. He came forward and spoke the word as a teacher. Those wise in their own eyes came to test him, but he refuted them, for they were foolish, and they hated him because they were not really wise. After them came the little children, who have knowledge of the Father. When they gained strength and learned about the expressions of the Father, they knew they were known. They were glorified. They have glory. So I'm guessing this has to do with the whole like innocence of a child, right? You haven't been corrupted by the world kind of thing.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I guess.
So it's easier to teach a child than it is to teach an adult.
because the original sin doesn't exist.
Also, yeah. Continuing on here. In their hearts, the living book of the living was revealed. The book that was written in the Father's thought and mind and was, now we're going into Tractate 20,
I'm already there. Sorry.
Perfect. Father's thought in mind was, since the foundation of the all, in his incomprehensible nature, no one had been able to take up this book, since it was ordained that the one who would take it up would be slain, and nothing could appear among those who believed in salvation unless that book had come out. Interesting passage there.
Yeah, so the book here, we've heard about
Is it the
similar
Book of Life?
things before. Yeah, the Book of Life. We've also heard about like heavenly tablets and different scriptures, right? Here though, there's a little bit more to it, right? It from the foundation of the totality, it was within the incomprehensible, the uber pleroma, right? And apparently no one's able to take it, since the one who takes it will be slain.
Right. I don't remember that. Was that like is that a biblical reference or something? Because I don't remember that.
Hi, Dan.
Maybe it's like,
Oh, all right. Test those sensors.
Yep, 69,420. Let's go.
There's two of those.
Oh, sorry, 69,420.
There you are.
My bad. Haha, the sex number.
no, but are we continuing on then?
Yeah, I'll
don't
continue
know.
on because I'm not sure what that might be a reference to.
No, it might be a reference to the Book of Enoch, right?
Would it be? Did someone die for taking up the
But
Book
it
of
might
Life?
be from
Yeah, I don't remember. If anyone remembers,
Exodus, when someone who's not permitted to look within the ark and look upon the tablets of
that would be the closest. But the tablets aren't
the
the Book of Life.
Decalogue. They're not
Where
the Book of Life, but they are a set of tablets that's handwritten by God.
Wait, hold on. Was it upon the tablets or was it upon something else that they couldn't? Oh, wait. Hold on. Are you thinking of the ark and that guy who touched it and then fell over?
Yes.
That
no,
guy?
there was someone who went into, was it Korah?
Oh my God! Was that in Numbers?
Was it Numbers? Where they went in and they're not supposed to look at it, and then it like burns everyone to a crisp, or it does an earthquake, or like some crazy shit like that.
Why am I having so much trouble remembering this?
It's like some like ridiculous Indiana Jones shit. Yeah,
Was it
it's
Korah? Okay.
Korah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Yes. The reason why that story is so hard for you to remember is because it was one of the ones that's, I think it was Korah and Dathan, right? Or where the stories are mixed together in such a way where it's really almost impossible to make any sense of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always forget that entire section. I'm like, what the fuck? I can't even follow this properly.
Yeah, I think maybe this is a reference to that.
Maybe.
But
Maybe.
who knows,
Right.
man?
But again, yeah, not the Book of Life.
This is an obscure book.
For this reason, yeah, I finished that section, right? And nothing could appear among those who believed in salvation unless that book had come out. For this reason, the merciful, faithful Jesus was patient and accepted his sufferings to the point of taking up that book, since he knew that his death would be life for many. As in the case of a will that has not been opened, the fortune of the deceased owner of the house is hidden. So also in the case of all that has been hidden, while the Father of the all was invisible, but the issues from him, from whom every realm comes. So
Wait, what's the story with this book now? So, like, what happens here is that Jesus, he dies, right?
Blech.
He takes the book, and when he takes the book, what does he like steal it so that like no one can die anymore?
or does he
Because their
I don't
names aren't like crossed out of the book because he stole it, or what?
So I guess he's revealing it, I guess.
Yeah, he's
in a way.
revealing it. But it's ordered that whoever takes the book is slain, right? So he has to die.
Sure, okay. So they're doing a little setup for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the fortune of the deceased owner of the house is hidden. They're doing an estate sale over by my place. So,
Sure.
yeah.
I got some cash.
Well, you want to go pick some stuff up from a dead guy?
Sometimes they have good books.
They
That's
got
true.
magic cards?
I highly doubt they have magic cards. You can feel free to check.
I found them there before. They're usually worthless, though. They're just almost always worthless.
Sometimes there's like CDs.
Okay, the person's name was Uza. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I remember that being in the Deuteronomic Mystic history, but I did not remember their name. Okay, So,
basically, don't interact with the Ark
unless you're Moses, of course.
or people sacking the temple.
That too. In which case, you're probably fine. So this next text is written like poetically, I guess, in here, but I think in that text it's all together. Jesus appeared, put on that book, was nailed to a tree, and published the Father's edict on the cross. Oh, what a great teaching! He humbled himself even unto death, though clothed in eternal life. He stripped off the perishable rags and clothed himself in incorruptibility, which no one can take from him. So literally, his death, Jesus being put on the cross, was like someone hanging up a notice like that said, like, this is I don't know what this is. This dude's will, I guess. I don't know.
This is the way.
Yeah, this is the way. When he entered the empty ways of fear, he passed by those stripped by forgetfulness, for he encompasses knowledge and perfection, and he proclaims what is in the heart. And now we're on to Tractate 21.
And there is textual break.
There is a textual break.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is at the end and beginning of a page. And he proclaims what is in the heart, textual break. He teaches those who will learn, and those who will learn are the living who are inscribed in the book of the living. They learn about themselves, receiving instruction from the Father, returning to him. Since the perfection of the all is in the Father, all must go up to him. When all have received knowledge, they receive what is theirs and draw it to themselves. For those who are ignorant are in need, and their need is great, because they need what would make them perfect. Since the perfection of the all is in the Father, all must go up to him and receive what is theirs. He inscribed these things first, having prepared them to be given to those who came from him. Okay, this is like the more of that allotment stuff, right?
Right.
So it's just a knowledge base, a knowledge of the Father base. Wow. You know who really fucked this all up? Error.
Yeah. Error kind of screwed things up for all of us.
Yeah. It was also in a Gnostic text where we had I am error, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it was one of the angels or demons.
So
or something.
here, what
Yeah,
is
something like
error the demiurge here?
I don't even know.
No, I think error is
Or is it its own villain?
I think
own
it's
arc.
it's its own arc. That's what I'm thinking.
one of the evils, I think, of the world.
Aren't we all?
No?
No?
Some of us are pretty neutral.
Oh my god. That's horrible.
I think it's pretty neutral.
Do worse.
Jeez.
Okay.
All right, I'll just mute you guys for the rest of the show. Is
That sounds like something you would do, yeah. So, on to the next section here. It's still Tractate 21. But the section is called The Father Utters the Names of the People Who Know. So, who knows? Those whose names he knew at the beginning were called at the end, as it is with every person who has knowledge. Such names the Father has uttered. One whose name has not been spoken is ignorant. For how could a person hear if that person's name had not been pronounced? What? Okay, I guess. Fine. In their metaphorical language, fine. They need to be called upon in order.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Unless someone says your name, you're literally deaf.
And hey, in terms of
Then you're activated like a
I'm
robot.
talking and nobody hears me because I didn't identify who I was talking to.
anyways, or like a sleeper agent,
Mm-hmm.
but with the knowledge of divine things, I suppose.
Yeah.
The knowledge of the true nature of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So whoever
And-
remains ignorant until the end is a creature of forgetfulness and will perish with it. Otherwise, why do these wretches have no name? Why no voice? And by the way, when it says have no name, like right in the middle of that is the next chapter. Sorry, the next tractate. So on to tractate 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And okay, I will finish this at least this section, and then I can hand off the last part of that tractate to you.
All right.
So whoever has knowledge is from above. If called, that person hears, replies, turns to the one who is calling, and goes up to him. He knows how he is called. That person has knowledge and does the will of him who called. That person wishes to please him, finds rest, and has the appropriate name. Those who have knowledge in this way know where they come from and where they are going. They know as one who, having become intoxicated, has turned from his drunkenness, and having come to his senses, has gotten control of himself.
So it's like an immediate Satori type thing where, they come to this enlightenment. It's immediate. They just like immediately know what's going on.
Right, yeah. It's a moment of clairvoyance.
Yeah.
So he, the Savior, has brought many back from error. He went before them to the places from which they had turned when they followed error, because of the depth of him who surrounds every place, though nothing surrounds him. Indeed, it is amazing that they were in the Father without knowing him, and that they could leave on their own, since they were not able to contemplate or know the one in whom they were. So it's interesting here. What's interesting about this here is that in other Gnostic texts we've read, we have basically a similar thing, right? And I think with this, error in this one it's not quite the demiurge. It's not like a god. It's more like I don't even know how to put it. It can create things, but not in the same way as a god. And it can do like maybe it's closer to an angel or a demon, right? So it's very powerful.
Yeah.
And can basically hide in plain sight, but it's not quite on the same level of demiurge. Mm-hmm. At least that's from what we've gathered so far.
Right.
Continuing on. For if his will had not come from him, he revealed it as knowledge that is in harmony with the expression of his will. That is, knowledge of the living book, which he revealed to the eternal realms at the end as his letters. So.
No. Which he revealed to the 23 aeons.
No. The reason. So I crossed that out for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason I crossed out 23 there is because this is what Ehrman did. And I can tell because of this typo. The tractate is 23 coming up right here. So exactly where it says 23 aeons, that's actually the beginning of the 23rd tractate. So it's just the aeons, or not necessarily the aeons, but it would be at the end as revealed to the eternal realms, which I think is translated as aeons, at the end as his letters.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you can.
Well, this is another thing we can ask Ehrman.
That is true. I would like to ask him, why did you leave any demarcation out? Like, yeah, they're all tractates, not technically chapters, but like, He had tractates in another one, didn't he? Or almost, right? In the Shepherd of Hermas. He had the different books, and
Yeah, they were sectioned off.
they were sectioned off, right? So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So on to, I guess, your turn.
This is letters revealing how they are not vowels, nor are they consonants, so that one might read them and think of something foolish. But they are letters of the truth, which they alone speak who know them. Each letter is a complete thought, like a complete book, since they are written, letters written by the unity, the Father having written them for the aeons, in order that by means of his letters they should know the Father. So there's like an alphabet where each letter is not a vowel or a consonant, but a complete book's worth of truth.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. That's some magic shit, man. You should
They speak perfect truth. It's a perfect book.
imagine a book written from those letters.
I assume it would look a lot like American English, because that's the best language there is.
Of course, using American English script.
Yes. There is no other English script, because American English is the real one. All other Englishes are fake Englishes.
Why, Lawrence? Look, there are these aeons, right? They have these letters that are thought form things. While his wisdom contemplates the word, and his teaching utters it, his knowledge has revealed it. While forbearance is a crown upon it, and his gladness is in harmony with it, his glory has exalted it, his image has revealed it, his repose has received it into itself, his love has made a body over it, his fidelity has embraced it. In this way, the word of the Father goes forth in the totality as the fruit of his heart and an impression of his will, but it supports the totality. It chooses them and also receives the impression of the totality, purifying them, bringing them back into the Father, into the Mother, Jesus of the infinite sweetness.
Jesus of infinite sweetness. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
we have this Gnostic Trinity again with the Father, the Mother, and here Jesus as the child, right?
Yeah, apparently the reference here to the sweetness is in 1 Peter 2. So the thing with we were reading on Atheist Sunday School, which you should definitely watch. So I'll check it. So 1 Peter 2.
Get that sweetness, Lawrence. You find it. You find that
Yeah,
sweetness.
like newborn. Oh, here it is. Okay. So like newborn infants long for the pure spiritual milk, that by it you may grow up into salvation, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. Actual sweet. And also, yes, Sumami, sweet baby Jesus.
Yeah. The Father reveals his bosom. Now
Me too.
his bosom is the Holy Spirit.
Me too.
He reveals what is hidden of him. What is hidden of him is his Son, so that through the mercies of the Father, the aeons may know him and cease laboring in search of the Father, resting here in him, knowing that this is the rest. Having filled the deficiency, he abolished the form. The form of it is the world, that in which he served. For the place where there is envy and strife is deficient, but the place where there is unity is perfect. Since the deficiency came into being because the Father was not known, therefore, When the Father is known, from that moment on, the deficiency will no longer exist. As in the case of the ignorance of a person, when he comes to have knowledge, his ignorance vanishes of itself, as the darkness vanishes when light appears.
So I do want to point out here that is the end of Tractate 24. I should have even mentioned that we were in
for the day.
Yeah, so
perfectly an hour.
Yeah, so when it says, "Thus the Father's word goes out in the all as the fruition of his heart," right before "of his heart" there, that would have been Tractate 24, and I should have said that. But yeah, and then the section where it says, "And as darkness departs when light comes, so also deficiency disappears." Right in between those two clauses, that's where Tractate 25 begins.
I see. Well, it's an interesting book so far. Very different than other things that we've encountered. In some ways the same.
Yeah.
But in other ways very, very different.
So the interpretation on Adam and Eve.
In chat.
It's Unagi.
Unagi.
Unagi's praying.
So the
of course, Unagi's praying.
Yeah.
What else is new?
It kind of reminds me of how, like, when I'm at work, sometimes, like, because we have like a lot of Muslims come in, right? And sometimes they just go in the back and pray, and they're like, I'm like walking back there, and I'm not expecting them, and I see them praying. I'm like, oh, I guess just sitting there praying. So it kind of reminds me of like just walking by them and they're just praying. Kind of reminds me of that. Anyways, I thought the interpretation of the tree of knowledge was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and this error being is also interesting. The uber pleroma being the Father is
it's in his mind, right?
Yeah. So the pleroma, that's like everything that we could possibly...
Anything that he could conceive. But it's in its most perfect state, I guess.
Okay.
In its most truthful state.
But the pleroma is where we are, right? It's
no.
It's the totality of everything that exists, right?
No, because the pleroma...
is the totality of everything that exists, which is why it's translated as the all or the totality.
Well, the thing is, that was where I wasn't sure, because here in the beginning,
within Gnosticism, the pleroma is the all.
Well, it was the all, but it was the like that was the real existence. This is the fake existence. That was the real existence. And the whole point of gaining knowledge is to get to the real existence.
Section of the all. There's just varying levels of existence.
Well, I guess, yeah. This isn't the perfect existence.
What they're saying is that the Father is not the set that contains all sets, but something that contains the set that contains all sets.
Yay.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Right. So that's what's going on there. That would not be accessible to you and I.
No.
Right? We would be stuck in the pleroma, right? We would be stuck within the totality and thus within a thought form of the Father.
Right, but the thing is, for us, we are not experiencing that most primal state of the pleroma.
Right.
You could say that we are descended from the pleroma, but we're not in the pleroma.
No, we're in the pleroma. It's just that our particulars are like clouded with error, right? We're within the fog. Error, which is within the pleroma, which is within the Father.
Yay.
Well, the thing is, I'm not really sure, because where it says fullness It is translated from pleroma, but I'm not sure on what's going on with the word all.
Well, mine says totality. I've seen other texts say all. I've seen...
Sure, but the thing is, I don't know.
Right.
And every translator does things differently, so.
Yep. So, hey, if you enjoyed the stream today, check us out on Patreon, where we've got all sorts of things on there. You could be on the show if you wanted to talk about the pleroma with us. We've got T-shirts. You can buy yourself one of these pinned T-shirts that are up there right now, or you could get yourself entered into a T-shirt giveaway once a month on our Patreon. That's only $10 a month
For the shirts, yeah?
Yeah,
$10,
yeah, to get entered into the giveaway. And Landon is one of our big winners. He's got like
All
a
of them.
whole.
He has every
he's
shirt.
got a huge pile of our shirts.
Yeah.
You could like stock your entire wardrobe with just our shirts.
That's true. You could. In fact, he is most of the time the reason why we get new shirts is because Landon needs another shirt.
Yeah. So if you enter into the T-shirt giveaway, there's a good chance that you will be able to clothe yourself.
True.
Congrats.
And we have an Amazon wish list. It's full of books. You could buy us books. We can read.
We can read them.
Read books.
Yeah. There are quite a lot of books on there, and I'm going through a whole ton of sources right now. Like I've been reading through Francesca Stavrakopoulou's King Manasseh and Child Sacrifice. It's really good. And in reading that, there are a whole bunch of citations. It's very well cited. So I'm like, you know what? This book that she's citing, I want to read that. That sounds pretty cool. So I've been adding a whole bunch of books to the wish list.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes, it is.
And hey, everyone, you should also join our Discord.
Right, join the Discord. !Discord in the chat for that. If you're not in it for whatever reason, you should remedy that because I can tell you're sick and you need help, and the only way you can receive help is through the Discord. So we're not BetterHelp.com or anything, but we are a community. That's a fact.
Or what?
I mean, the Discord does seem active.
Okay.
Yep, we are a community. We're there.
Occasionally I post in there.
I also occasionally
I'm
post.
the lurker admin. I read everything and post almost nothing.
Yeah,
I've seen you post.
I rarely post though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even less since the whole D&D thing didn't work out.
Whatever.
Yeah, but either way, do all the stuff and the things and
And
yeah, I guess the show.
thingies and the what's-its.
Yep,
Yeah.
and the whatchamacallits, and we will see you
On
on Sunday for reading the Bible, the actual one.
Yep.